Hello and welcome to the Manifestation Game podcast. I am your host, Kaylee, and today we have a really special guest. Today I have on one of my bestest friends. She is a functional nutritionist. She is a fairy. She is a healer. She is one of the loves of my life and so fantastic in so many ways. Her name is Samantha Jones. And in this episode today, we dive into the metaphysical healing, the physical healing. She is a master of the body, the biology of the body. I am like so clearly in the brain. Subconscious rewiring is like everything that I nerd about. So it's so cool today to have this conversation with her where we're fusing the two, the body and the mind, and seeing how we work together and reframing the way that you see viruses, that you see sickness, that you see pain in the body by changing your beliefs about viruses, changing your beliefs about things that are happening to you to how viruses even are happening for you. And I even go in and tell a story of the time that she literally, she and I, it was a collaborative experience, but healed me from getting the fever, the flu. I was like down bad, and I was feeling all these symptoms come on, and she and I reframed the experience so that I could actually receive the lesson from what it is, this flu, this virus that was coming into my body, and literally immediately it disappeared. All my symptoms left me. So freaking amazing. I go into the details of that story. She tells her side, my side, and so much more. So much more. I'm so excited you're here, and I hope you enjoy listening. Let's get into it. What have you been working on lately?
Okay, so just listening to you speak about the importance of health and like the realization of how foundational your body is in basically supporting you through this journey of like entrepreneurship and accomplishing the goals that you set very, very high for yourself, is I've made the realization that a lot of people want this success. They want this, I don't even know what you would call it, like this magical lifestyle, right? So like there's a lot of, people getting really, really interested in like the psychedelic therapy, in like just, even what you're doing, right? Like the subconscious rewiring. So more of this like metaphysical, magical side, and just like in general in terms of just like entrepreneurship, or just kind of like people are showing up at like a higher level, or at least like wanting to. But I'm realizing that the foundation of people's health, in order to hold the capacity for like their goals and their dreams like energetically, is not essentially matching up to the capacity like they need it to. So like I've created within the last few weeks, I essentially got this freaking download of information of how to prioritize and organize physical health, and then mental, like emotional health, and then you can get into the magic. Because I've worked with so many clients that are just kind of like anywhere between a mess because of like the chronic health conditions and like, 20 years of like an autoimmune disease, like all the way to, something that's not necessarily like terrible in terms of like it's stopping them or preventing them from doing things. But essentially, after looking at all of these people, I've found the common denominator for like the things that are the most important for showing up at a high level. So I've separated it into three categories. So it's the physical body, which is going to be prioritizing at number one, is going to be digestion. So that's like always a non-negotiable, especially as we know that we've talked about it with you and myself, obviously having Crohn's disease in the past. But so then number one is going to be the gut. So that gut health, digestive, like that's always going to be number one. Number two is going to be nervous system regulation. So, you could be eating all of the right things, you could have the perfect diet, but if your nervous system and the quality of, the emotional state that you're in when you're eating this food, that that could essentially like not even matter if you have a perfect diet, if you have a dysregulated nervous system. Number 3 is going to be detox. So if we're not detoxing, then we're essentially holding on to toxins, and that is going to make things extremely hard. So like that's I think where a lot of people run into, which is like, like the fatigue, the brain fog, like inability to like complete a full workout or kind of like train at the level that you want to. So like all of this stuff is just kind of gonna be the foundation. And then you can probably go into like more, which I haven't really built it out past the top 3, but in terms of priority, but those are like always going to be the top 3. And so that's where I kind of think that you're at, Kay, is we're like pretty much figuring out the gut health, nervous system regulation with like breath work, meditation, stuff like that. And then now we're going into more of like the detox. So that's going to be like liver support, lymphatic support, even like your respiratory system, you're detoxing when you breathe, right? So like the breath work and stuff like that, that is what I'm finding is like the non-negotiable top 3. And then from there, it's kind of like you can't move on to the next level. Like, like video games where you have to like unlock, like you have to complete like whatever like course or roadmap. And then once you like unlock, like Bowser's Castle, then you can go to like Rainbow Road. So we can't get to Rainbow Road until we like get through Bowser's Castle, right? So after you like unlock the body, then you kind of go into like the emotional and the mental, and then like after you kind of like unlock all of that, which I have like the built out lessons in that, then you can go into like the fun stuff, which is like the magic. Mm-hmm. So like to me, this is like all the stuff that you talk about, like this is the magic, where it's like the synchronicities. Even doing any type of like ceremony or ritual, or like working with tarot or oracle, or doing the sound bath and like stuff like that. So like that's more of like the magic. Mm-hmm. But to me, you can't really get there if you have a dysregulated nervous system, if you have a stomach ache every time you eat, and if you are not like pooping every day, like super basic stuff, right? Yeah. So that's what I've been working on for the past like few weeks. I finally figured out how to organize all of this freaking information in my brain from like all of the different holistic healing modalities, and then like put it into an actual like framework.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
So yeah.
It's so interesting hearing this too, because like it's like the way that you set it up, it's like a self-operating system, and that like I'm thinking of times where like I went straight into breath work and say nervous system regulation, and as soon as I started doing that, my body was like, hold up, you have no idea how to eat food. Like you literally cannot. I told Sam this, I was like constipated once for a whole month, and then I was like, okay, I think something's wrong. Like I think something's really wrong here. And so then it brought me back down to that step, and then it was like I continuously was like on this journey where I was like seeking the magic and doing all of these things, and then it took me to like nervous system regulation, of like what that truly means to have a regulated nervous system. And now like even still it's like I'm gonna keep pursuing the magic because that's where the fun stuff's at. Right. But in pursuing the magic, like even this 90-day challenge that I'm doing, or the 90-day quantum leap, like I'm quantum leaping. That's magical, right? And in the midst of the quantum leap, I'm being like really humbled, and my body's being like, hey girl, like I got really clear signs in many ways that like my liver and my lymphatic system isn't working to its best ability, which is preventing me from like truly being able to embody this. So it's like a self-operating system in that way. It's like you can keep pursuing what it is that you're pursuing, but you'll be redirected to like what it is that the body needs, and until you actually like give that to your body, you're gonna keep like looping the same patterns and cycles, you know?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So like the body is like the vessel. The body is the conduit that is able to operate with the awareness to be able to do these things that you teach and that you operate with. So like I've obviously been on this super, and you too, I feel like, I've been on like the super polarized end of like chronic disease, to the point where like they're talking about surgery and removing my intestines, and I wasn't practicing a lot of magic when I was like worried about whether or not I would have to have surgery to like remove my intestines, right? So that definitely actually kind of like was a catapult into understanding that there were energetics and stuff around healing, not just the physical body. So I definitely believe that both have to exist simultaneously in terms of like the physical body and the energetic body. But yeah, just realizing the importance, like being the nutritionist and the registered nurse, like realizing the importance of like if we're not taking care of the physical body first, then it's going to make it a lot harder to do the fun subconscious rewiring, like the breath work. And I mean, I've even noticed that, I'm not saying that you can't, right? But just like if you really want to do these like quantum leaps and like really kind of just want to like upgrade that DNA as like fast as possible, like you gotta have a body that can hold the energy, and you're essentially like expanding your nervous system. So then that's essentially like kind of where I'm at, where it's like what are the absolute like non-negotiables, and coming at it from like an integrative perspective. So something that's like super reasonable, and being that's where the functional nutrition comes in, where like I realize it's going to be different for everybody. So like it's kind of like it's like a choose your journey, like choose your reality type thing, where it's like if your digestive system is like really on point, like 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10, then like you just like keep moving on. You just like keep moving on. But yeah, so that's the special sauce that I am really excited about.
I like that. Me too. Like the other day, I was experiencing a lot of frustration, and it was like interesting because I wasn't around anything specifically. Like I didn't have a story around it. It wasn't like, this thing isn't working or that person sucks. Like I didn't have any story around it. I just felt it in my body. I just was really clear that I was feeling this feeling of frustration and anger. And it when you said it, it kind of reminded me of like, feels like my body is like I'm in the midst of this quantum leap, right? And like expanding my capacity really hard. Really hard. I don't like saying that. Really.
We're expanding so hard right now.
Never mind, I take it back. I'm expanding a lot right now. And I feel like I train my mind, and I'll say like historically too, I've trained my mind a lot more than I've trained and taken care of my body. And so in this way, like when it comes to the mental agility of being able to expand and overcome limiting beliefs, I'm like, I fucking got this. And this is such a reminder that like my body's also expanding with me because I felt this like massive amount of frustration within me, and it almost felt like my body was like, okay, like wait, you haven't fucking dealt with this like very real thing that's happening here, and if you want to expand in that way, you have to expand in this way, which is like again like literally turn me right back into my body. And I feel like this is like the next level of expansion for me is not more mind stuff, and I'm always thinking like, how can I do more mind stuff? But it's really just like, how can I actually give my body exactly what it needs, and like listen as much as I'm like listening to my subconscious mind, right? Like, can I listen to my body to that degree and give it exactly what it needs to expand with me, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I love that because, I mean, it's kind of like, I don't know if it would be a joke, but I have this like perspective of people who are like working on, say, like intuition, right? So we're tapping into like solar plexus, aka digestive system, right? So your solar plexus is governing your digestive system and liver and stuff like that. And I kind of like came across this whole like fad of like intuitive eating. Like if we've talked about this, right? Where it's like people are like, "Oh, I'm intuitively eating like whatever. Choose your flavor." Yeah, intuitively eating fruit roll-ups and Cheetos. And like for me, I'm like, "Okay, like is that your intuition, or are you just like operating out of whatever a subconscious program is happening, or are you operating out of the imbalance of your microbiome, that you have these little like microbes in you that are super imbalanced? So they're like, give me the white sugar, the processed sugar. Don't forget about me.
And you're like, oh, my intuition is telling me I need more
It's like,
fructose.
oh, it's like, oh, it's not. Oh no, it's not candida overgrowth. It's definitely just it's your intuition. It's fine.
Yeah, yeah. It's like same place, you know? Like I
Right?
have this feeling in my gut. I have this gut feeling.
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
like,
your
are you
microbiome is
sure? Like,
imbalanced.
are you sure? Because you like can't even correlate the fact that like gluten makes your joints hurt, but you're saying that your intuition is like, and I'm saying this from a place of like, I've been there.
Yeah,
You
me
know,
too. Me too.
like when I was having stomach aches every time I ate, which is like pretty gnarly, I was not optimistic. I was like pretty shitty to be around. I was constantly just like in pain, uncomfortable, and then my nervous system was like so zoomed in. So then if you're super zoomed in, you're usually not making zoomed out big picture choices. Because you're just like in survival mode all the time, which, a lot of, if we want to operate in like this magical place with like intuition and stuff, like you got to step out of survival mode, right? So then if the body's under constant stress and inflammation because of whatever you're putting in it, on it, around it, then how do you truly know like what your intuition is? Until you've kind of gotten your inflammation and your stress level down enough that you can zoom out and see so big picture that you can actually truly make like these like intuitive choices, or like you can listen to these like subtle nudges from the universe, pushing you in the right direction. And again, like I say all of this from like a deep sense of humility because I've been like beat down over and over again with my health. I mean, last year alone, I was sick, like every month, like probably 8 out of 12 months, I was like sick, and my body's just like, DNA upgrade, stop doing things. And I'm like, oh, that's fine, I'll just go do a harder workout. And it's like, no, you're receiving a DNA upgrade, stop doing things. And I'm like, oh, fine. So it's like finally when you like actually like take a second to listen.
Yeah. Wait, on that note, I love your explanation of a DNA upgrade. Can you give us these codes, please?
Ah, yes. So, this all started when I started reading about gene keys. So a lot of the foundation of kind of where I'm at with my journey and what I'm creating is actually based off of gene key 55. So this is the dragonfly's dream. This is stepping out of victimization into freedom. And this also means that the human genetic code is actually going through a very spontaneous DNA upgrade right now. And so we are kind of sitting at the precipice of this like new earth mentality, not only just on like a spiritual and emotional level, but it's actually on a genetic coding level. So after kind of diving into this, realizing that it's essentially my responsibility that I guess I'm choosing, but to usher in this new human archetype where like now we're operating out of like freedom and abundance rather than like fear and scarcity. I've had to completely revolutionize the way that I look at being sick. I dove deeply into viruses and understanding like the RNA and genetic coding of like what's actually going on when we interact with viruses in terms of like the COVID and all that really emotionally charged stuff. But I've had to completely rewire that the mentality towards it. And after studying and reading and listening and doing all of the things, I've just realized that essentially viruses are just DNA upgrades. Anytime that you are sick, anytime that your body is kind of nudging you to slow down, it's actually for a reason. So back in 2020, the Nobel Prize winner for chemistry was actually, her last name was, I can't remember her first name, but her last name was Duodenah, which is like do-you-DNA, which is like kind of hilarious. And she won the Nobel Prize in Chemistry for recognizing what's called the Cas9 system. So the Cas9 system is essentially a gateway for interacting with viruses. Viruses are not the enemy. They are not something to be afraid of. They're not something to fight. They are simply just genetic upgrades. So viruses are not alive, so they're not attacking you. They're not, and you're actually, as we're breathing air right now, you're interacting with 10 to the 19 viruses in the air. So that's, you know, whatever 10 with 19 zeros behind it, whatever that number is, that's how many different types of viruses you're actually breathing in right now. So the thought of kind of being afraid of just one of them is kind of just a little bit of victim mindset to me. But so what the Cas9 system is when the virus enters your body, into your field, your Cas9 system, which is on every single cell, interacts with the RNA, which is just a type of genetic coding, and it's like, do we want to integrate this into our genetic code, or do we not? Most of the time it's a no. Every once in a while you get a yes, and then that's when you can get like the symptoms of like, you know, the cough, sneeze, fever. Most of the time that is actually because of your mitochondrial health. So if you're unable to kind of withstand this DNA upgrade at like a metabolic level, so just in terms of like energy, then that's usually when you get the symptoms. So people that are a little bit more immune system dysregulated, under a lot more stress, a lot of times their mitochondrial health is usually a little bit different. So those are the people that will get sick more often, and they'll have like more symptoms versus like you have those people that are like, oh, I like never get sick, and like maybe they get like a little sniffles like once or twice a year. It's most likely because their mitochondria health is operating at a really high level. So I kind of asked the question like, well, what if nature wasn't actually trying to harm us and it was actually trying to help us? So then I dove deeper into that, and then I realized that it actually took 8 different types of retroviruses similar to AIDS to actually be able to give birth to a live human. So rather than giving birth to an egg or, you know, a single-celled organism that is like splitting off, it actually took 8 different viruses. So the fact that we're kind of like demonizing viruses at this like weird sphere, like anti-platform type, that to me is just like, now you're just kind of like fearing nature and like putting nature as like the enemy, which I definitely don't agree with. I think it's like the opposite actually. So Kaylee and I did a really, really fun experiment one time at Big Bear.
I was literally just thinking this.
Yeah, I was like, we gotta actually give like an example. I mean, do you want to tell that?
Yeah,
I feel like you should tell that.
Okay, so I went on a trip with Sam and a bunch of our friends to Big Bear. We're having a lovely time, and I started to feel that I was coming down with something, and I knew that my best friend Sam is like a genius, and I was like, look, like, I don't want to get sick. Like, I'm here with like 14 of my favorite people, and like, now's not the time. I don't feel like I need to get sick right now. Like, I'm capable of resting and like taking it easy if I need to, but let's not do this. And I have like, after what she said, I'm like recognizing that these symptoms that I'm feeling are actually to remind me that I'm going through a DNA upgrade right now. And so then I had this hypothesis that I don't have to feel the symptoms if I simply allow myself to receive the medicine of the DNA upgrade. And so then I was like, Sam, I need your help. I was like, I need you, because I was like pretty fatigued and tired. And so I knew that like technically I know that DNA upgrades exist and stuff like that, but I needed her to like speak life into me. And I was like, I need you to just like hold this space for me and tell me like the truth of what's happening to me. And so we like went into her room, laid down on the bed. She had her buffalo drum, and you can tell me what it is that you did, and then I'll go back in and say what I felt during the experience.
Yeah, you can't forget that massive quartz crystal bowl above your head too.
Oh yes.
Because you were like, my head hurts. I'm like, perfect. Let's just blast her with some freaking like singing bowls. Okay, so how I kind of like I wanted to go about it was understanding that the suffering is in the resistance, right? So how can we just do our best to accept, not only maybe accept what was going on, but even like lean into it. So yeah, Kaylee laid down, had her close her eyes, just dropped her into the body, had her maybe, I guess you would say, shake hands with said virus and have the humility, which I think the humility is like a big one here, to be humble enough to accept the fact that, hey, nature actually knows what it's doing. It's actually providing you with something extremely beneficial, but sometimes we just have to be quiet enough and be still enough to accept it. So after just dropping you in and said a nice deluge of words of kind of like I just went on of understanding what DNA is, how it's, being melded and meshed into your body and for your further evolution, right? Because that's the whole purpose of nature is to evolve. And then just like allow you to like actually feel it. I think people are really quick to run away from the discomfort where it's like, oh, I have a headache. Let me like reach for the Advil to make it go away. Or it's like, oh, I have a runny nose. Let's get the Benadryl, diphenhydramine, whatever the heck you want to call it, and just like stop the runny nose. So allowing you just like time and like some space to just like feel. Keyword feel, not intellectualize, not think, not even try to shift it. Like we weren't even at a point where we're trying to like shift it yet, because I think you have to feel it completely before we shift it. And then yeah, maybe just incorporate a little bit of sound, vibration. Everyone loves a nice buffalo drum to the face, to the heart. So that's always like a really, that's always a really like tasty moment when you're just getting like the doom, 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 like right to the chest. And you're just like, oh yeah, I remember that. I'm just a human and I'm just a vibrating complex all the time. So yeah, that's just kind of how it went down. How was it for you on your end?
So, like, for reference, I want to, like, go back in and say, like, what I was feeling. It was, like, no just, like, little sniffle or cold. Like, I had a full migraine. I was, like, pure exhausted. Like, exhausted. I felt like the kind of warmth that would come, like, right before you get, like, real sick, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I had body aches, like, full-on body aches. I was nauseous. I wasn't hungry. And I was, like, all right, if this thing comes on, it's gonna come on. And so I really was like, this is the power of intention right here. I was not like, maybe it'll work. I was like, Sam and me are going to heal this within this session. And I went into it with that amount of conviction, having full trust in her, in like what it is that she knows and that she's literally a healer. And then also knowing the power of my capacity to like lean in and listen to my body and give it exactly what it needs. And so going into the session, by the way, prefacing this, like I've done this now several times, so it's like it's a proven method, and I actually really want to, now that we're talking about it, I want to work together with you to like actually create like a guided practice for people to lean into. So what I realized in this is like it's a little bit different than rewiring your brain around, let's say, like an injury, because that neural pathway of, like, let's say your hip has been hurting you for a really long time, it's pretty deep, because that neural pathway is, like, deep. Now, it's been going on for years. Not to say it's impossible, obviously it's possible, but different in that this neural pathway of, like, I'm sick is brand new. Like, brand new. And so that day, I never even said I'm getting sick. I just said, I'm feeling a little bit different right now, off right now. As soon as you start saying people, I'm sick, I'm sick, I'm sick, I'm sick, what is your body going to start doing?
Now you're just like looking for all of the reasons to reaffirm the fact that you feel terrible. And then it's just like,
all right, sure,
okay, great.
So, but then I have this idea, right, that this is happening for me, not to me. Everything is happening for me, not to me. This virus that I'm feeling, or these sensations are coming up because they want me to feel them. Anything that is coming up is because it wants to be felt, right? So then I went into this, like, what if I actually just, like, fully felt all of the pain? And so I didn't just be like, okay, I'm gonna, like, feel what's going on right now, like, vaguely. I was like, my throat hurts so bad, what does that feel like? And as she was working on me, I was like feeling into every single one of my symptoms. I was like feeling fully into the throbbing of my head, feeling fully into my throat, feeling fully into my body aches, like one by one, going through every single symptom and like giving it my full attention. Like I look at you, I see you, and I feel you. And you notice whenever you're sick, like Sam mentioned this, like what do you do? It's like, oh, like my throat hurts. And you'll just keep saying that, my throat hurts, but you never actually stop to feel it. You're trying to avoid it. And you're like, my throat hurts, and I'm like running away from it. Like I'll just take the medicine. I'll just like look away from this. But like if everything is truly happening in perfect harmony, if everything is truly happening for you, like you hear those things all the time, right? Then wouldn't it make sense that if your body is creating a symptom, it's because it's meant to be felt? And so in feeling that, I'm not kidding you, like I don't know how long we were in that, for like 30 minutes or an hour or so, feeling through everything. I think I had like a breakdown. I think I cried for a little bit. And I received this message of like, if you truly feel into the symptoms that your body is giving you, you'll receive a message. And if you truly receive and embody that message, you don't need to feel the symptoms anymore. And I don't fucking know if that's true, but it's true to me, and I get to create my own perception of reality. So like, if you want that to be true for you, let it be true for you, you know? But the message I received was like, in that moment I was doing a lot for people, and it was like, you need to be able to have people hold space for you. And that's what Sam was doing for me. And so I was like literally receiving the very medicine that I was being told. And I got up and I was like, my head didn't hurt at all anymore. My throat still like hurt a little bit, but my head didn't hurt at all anymore. And I was like a little bit afraid to say that it worked, because I was like, what if tomorrow like it didn't, you know?
Yeah.
So I was just like, no, I feel pretty good. Like I feel a lot better than I did before, that's for sure. And then I woke up the next day, no symptoms. Like nothing at all. And I was like, holy shit, Sam, we just did something there. Like we just did something. We just
performed a miracle.
Really, we performed a miracle. And like since having that experience, I've now done that with myself like 3 more times. Whenever I feel like a cold coming on, granted I'm really in tune with my body, so I can feel like even just like a slight like tingling in my body that's like telling me that, hey, if you don't slow down and listen right now, guess what's gonna happen? And so whenever I feel that, I like cancel my plans and I'm just
cancel the entire afternoon. I'm laying in the sun.
literally. And then like I'll feel whatever it is that's like asking to be felt. I usually receive like when I feel like is the medicine of it, and then I don't get sick. And like I haven't gotten sick in a long time now, because I genuinely have adopted this belief that if I listen before the symptoms get fucking crazy, then the symptoms will tell me what the medicine is that I need, and I don't have to experience more symptoms. Like they're presenting themselves because they're like, hey, fucking look at this. And you know, you never look at it, so you have symptoms for 2 fucking weeks. But if you look at the symptoms and experience them, then you don't need more symptoms.
And that, my friends, is the real life example of what a regulated nervous system looks like.
That's facts.
Because it's like, it's just a matter of like, how far can you zoom out? You know, and like, that's where the cool part is like, there's kind of 2 layers to it. There's like the actual biologic layer of like what's happening at a physiological level within your body. So this is where like your DNA is interacting with the viral RNA. And then there's the metaphysical level, which like you very eloquently described, where you're like, hey, like, what's the lesson in this? And you were able to kind of like zoom out enough to be like, damn, like, I have been, dare I say the G word, grinding, you know, and like showing up for other people, and just like holding space for other people, and then that's kind of like your body's way of reminding you like, hey, maybe we gotta like slow down. And so yeah, it's just like really, really neat to be able to it's kind of like expert level, like hard if you can start to get sick and then realize that the lesson of what's actually your symptoms are within it too, if that makes sense. So it's like, you describe like the head versus maybe someone has like respiratory stuff, maybe someone has like GI stuff, like diarrhea, vomiting, stuff like that. So like maybe there's like a lesson in there too. That's obviously like again like that's like later down the road in terms of like the expert level is hard,
Yeah,
but
it's
yeah,
just
like
like a little bit. If you think about like a neural pathway, like if you've been experiencing chronic pain you've been experiencing that longer than you have the cold symptoms that arrived yesterday. And so I find it like a great entry level to like healing, being able to take ownership of being the healer of your body when you start to feel like a cold or something that's like it's here for the first time ever. Great way to like do this sort of practice, because again, like just deeper neural pathways means you need to have a stronger belief, belief
for
that you're
sure.
capable of healing.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Okay, I have a question
Proud
for
of
you
you.
about um, mitochondrial health. For anyone who doesn't know what that means and like how to actually like begin being proactive on that, what would you recommend?
Oh man, this is like another friggin' great wormhole. So, the coolest part about mitochondria is actually understanding that it's not human DNA. So, that is the wild part too, is mitochondria is actually a really, really ancient bacteria. So, in terms of when they run like the genetic testing, it's actually not of human genome, it's a bacteria genome. So, that's pretty wild because you hear like mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell,
Right.
which it is, but it's kind of has a little bit more personality than that, in my opinion. Um, I think probably the most important thing, if I were to share kind of one thing on that, would be understanding that the the struggle with human health right now is actually because of the war that humans have started against nature. And I don't use the word war lightly, but in the 1960s, they created pesticides. So pesticides are essentially antibiotics, which antibiotics by definition is basically like to kill an entire ecosystem infrastructure. And pesticides are, they were originally used to, I want to say they're actually originally used in like the war to, like, I want to say maybe, was it Korean War? I don't know. So like Agent Orange and all of that is essentially just a really, really strong antibiotic, and like DDT, same thing. But then they realized that they could use it to actually harvest wheat faster and dry out wheat faster, so then they could actually make more money. So then they started creating GMO foods so then they could withstand the spraying of said pesticides. But now we are at the later manifestation of what that actually is doing to human health, and they're finding that at a cellular level, it's actually killing off your genome, or not your genome, sorry, your microbiome. So your microbiome is extremely important because in terms of also, since we're talking about DNA a lot, in terms of your microbiome, we're actually 99% microbiome DNA and only 1% human. So that's how, yeah, so that's how many like different types of microbes, so protozoa, bacteria, virus, everything that's the living ecosystem within they're not only finding the digestive system, but even in our cerebral spinal fluid, so like in your spine and like breast tissue, all has its separate microbiome. But so when you're eating foods that are containing pesticides, now your body is absorbing this pesticide, which is essentially an antibiotic. So then it's really kind of killing off all of the microflora and like the diversity, which when you decrease the diversity, you decrease health outcomes. So then what actually happens is if the pesticide gets through your cell wall, it starts to kill the bacteria inside the cell. And now that we know that the bacteria inside of our cell are mitochondria, that is why people are so sick. That is why you see so many obese people. That is why we as a species are kind of essentially failing in terms of like metabolic health, ability to produce energy. So yeah, if I kind of could make one suggestion, it would be aware of how much you're interacting with pesticides. So, buying organic, growing your own food. We have a really fancy water filter that you can change the pH setting so it actually binds, because pesticides are oil based, so it binds to the oil to take the pesticides off of the produce. And there's also certain supplements that can help with this. With shout out to my guy Dr. Zach Bush, he has an unbelievable supplement created from humic soil. So it's essentially just like an ancient soil system, and it's called Terrahydrite. So it essentially just, it's almost kind of like a probiotic on steroids, because I personally don't take a probiotic. I know people can like swear by their like seed probiotic and whatnot, which like, hey, if it's working for you, cool. But this supplement specifically called Ion Biome like bypasses the need to even take a probiotic to counterbalance, all of the toxin exposure that you have all the time. So yeah, there's like certain supplements that you can take to kind of support that too, and understanding that most of human health is actually just from this like war on nature, which is like this inability for your mitochondria to produce energy at a high level, because you're just extracting sunlight from the food that you're eating. And if you can't do that, then that's when you get sick, right? So like that's when you have trouble maintaining enough energy to keep the symptoms away, and that's when you get, run down and sick after flying on a plane all the time, and maybe like COVID hit you a little bit harder than somebody else, and you're like, why did that hit me? And so my first question is always going to be like, okay, like how's my mitochondrial health? Yeah. So that's long story medium.
Oh, it really seems like talk about like root, seems like that's like the core of like so many of the symptoms and the problems that people are experiencing. So that's a really cool place to start. Mm-hmm. Okay. I'm feeling like that was a great way to round it out, and I wanna finish this off here with a question. Alrighty. So if you could, I like this idea that when I do hypnosis, I can like go in and take out a belief and then replace it with a belief. So if you could, with this crane I have in my hand, go in and replace and place in a belief into every single person's brain in the entire world, what would you like them to believe about themselves or about the world?
Oh, bro.
By the way, this belief affects their entire reality, changes the way that they think, the way they feel, and the way they move through reality. So, no pressure.
Whoa. Okay. Okay. I'm going to say this, and I bet you, like, after this conversation's done, I'm going to be like, oh, I want to change it. But you know what? This is what's, like, really prevalent for me right now. And I think after this conversation, this could be really prevalent for the people now that we've kind of, like, set the stage. For my fellow homies listening out there. The struggle and the discomfort that you experience in your life, if you can just be patient enough and sit with it long enough without running, without needing to medicate, without needing to numb the pain, without needing to escape it, if you can just sit with it, you will be blown away in terms of the magic that you can create from it. Because you are inherently a creator. And if you can step out of the victim mindset long enough, you will understand that your biggest challenge, your biggest struggle, the biggest thing that you have to overcome, whether it's, a chronic health condition, whether you were born in some type of, poverty-stricken situation, whether, your family life at home is difficult, if you can just sit with it long enough without numbing it, without running from it, you will be amazed at the gift that is on the other side of this discomfort. I think it is, after understanding my gene keys very deeply, I know it is my job and my responsibility to show up in this world to reflect back what that means for other people. So I've been through a lot of uncomfortable situations in my life. I've chosen to live in the darkest places in the world, literally Eastern Europe. My soul has chosen to face my mortality of chronic disease at 23 years old, just so I could overcome it and now teach this lesson to other people. So yeah, everybody has a genius, but if you want to access this genius, you have to lean into the discomfort first, without being scared of it or without running away from it.
Whoa!
Yes.
Hell yeah, dude.
Freedom!
Yes. I think we've achieved heaven on earth now that everyone believes that.
Yeah, I think if everyone could just kind of understand that a little bit.
Yeah. Well, I think I really needed to hear that too. Of I'm experiencing a lot of discomfort right now, and part of me recently has been I just need to do things differently, and maybe I could have made some different choices to make my life a little easier right now. But this reminder of even if I made my life a little bit more difficult right now, I'm inherently going to create a gift from it because with pressure comes diamonds, and so yeah, I really like that.
Yeah, I think you and I have kind of surrendered to the fact that our soul specifically chose this journey in this lifetime, which is meant to be hard. So once you can kind of get over the fact that your journey's meant to be hard because you're meant to do big things, then you can kind of be a little more kind of God-led or divinely inspired versus kind of just pushing through it all the time. But
lean into
yeah.
it. Oh man, thank you so much. What an amazing conversation.
Oh, I freaking love that you're my best friend. Oh, that's so cool.
I'll be here if you ever want to do this all the time.
Yeah, what are you doing for the rest of your life?
Kind of kicking it with a side of really pushing myself as hard as I can.
Yeah, just struggling a little bit, realizing that all the power is within me, and then being oh yeah, and then struggling again for a little bit, and then going
No,
through
I'm
this
super down. No, I'm super down to do it with you though, if you're down.
Oh, dude, yeah. Dude, yeah, absolutely.
Okay, well, I love you so much. I'll see you very soon.
Yes, I will see you so soon. Freaking love you.
I hope you enjoyed watching that episode as much as I enjoyed recording it, speaking it, living it. I love Samantha Jones so much. If you want to learn more from her, she's so magical, and I will post her Instagram, her links down below. I'll also be posting all of my other links for you to be able to access me. The Manifestation Game course is officially being launched July 30th, so we're so close. And the Limitless Rewire is now fully live, my $15 workshop for you to be able to make an income doing what you love through the subconscious rewiring. And finally, the suggestion box. So I want to hear from you. I want to hear about what it is that you want me to talk about, what questions that you want me to explore on this podcast. So please drop anything in the suggestion box down below, and I'll take a look at it and create some podcasts for you. So thank you so much, and have the best day